All right, everyone. Today's class is how to determine your pricing. As you know, we cannot discuss pricing in the Facebook group with regard to what we charge or what we want to charge. So I've developed this class so that we can have a place, a point of reference to be able to have that conversation and also be able to kind of have a framework to be able to determine what our pricing should be. A quick disclaimer before we get started, your Secretary of State is the ultimate resource for you on what you can charge for notarial acts. I repeat, your Secretary of State is your primary resource on what you should charge for notarial acts. This class is for educational and informational purposes only. I will be teaching you in this class how to take what your Secretary of State allows for you to do and make your business a profitable enterprise. And what I mean by that is when your Secretary of State says you can only charge X for a notarial act, then that's fine. But what I want you to explore and consider is reviewing your Secretary of State's rules to see if the following are prohibited, meaning I need you to be proactive. Go read your Secretary of State's laws to see if you can not charge for the following: convenience fee, administrative fee, okay? There was one other one, but basically those two. Those two fees are fees that you can put profit in without being non-compliant. But first, you have to go to your Secretary of State to see whether or not those charges are prohibited. That third fee that I forgot was your travel fee. So there are 3 fees that you have homework to go research. You have to go see if your Secretary of State prevents you from charging a convenience fee, prevents you from charging an administrative fee, or prevents you from charging a travel fee. If you find that your Secretary of State does not prohibit those fees, then guess what? Now you have an ability to better structure your pricing model and better generate a healthy profit for your business. If you do not find reference to those 3 fees in your Secretary of State's guidelines, do not call them and ask. I repeat, if you do not find any reference prohibiting you from charging a travel fee, excuse me, a convenience fee, or an administrative fee, you will not pick up the phone and call them and ask about those fees. Your reference is what is in black and white, and you're going to go by that. Okay? Are there any questions before I get started? Any questions about that at all before I get started? Desiree, can I ask you to be my chat watcher for me and let me know if I miss anything?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, this is a tool that many of you all are familiar with. It's called Notary Gadget. So if you happen to be on your computer, go ahead and log into your Notary Gadget. I have to give credit to Zara. She's in the Facebook group. Zara, on a meet and greet probably 5 months ago, introduced to us how to use Notary Gadget to calculate our mileage. And so what we're going to do is just use this tool for just that. We're going to hop from this tool over to a spreadsheet to be able to calculate our fees. But things you want to start here to determine your mileage. So if I can recall how to get in here, let's see here. It's been a minute since I've been in here. So for those of you guys who are more familiar with this than me, I may need your help. Okay. So since I haven't been in here in a while, it's giving me all these clues on what to do. Of course, I'm ignoring them. But what I want to do is create a new signing. And the only purpose in this is for me to calculate my geographical boundary for my business. I repeat, the only reason that I am using Notary Gadget right now is to calculate my geographical boundary for my business. This is the distance that I will not travel farther than. Okay? I am not going to travel farther than X. Okay? So for whatever that is for you. Now, this may be a city. This may be an adjoining county. Okay? So what you have to do is you have to get a point of reference, a business. It could be the Kroger's on Main Street over in the next town over. That is your point of reference. That is the place that you will not go any further than. For me, I'm going to show you how I do it. I'm going to go over here to Google, and I am not going to travel any further than Opry Mills Shopping Mall in Nashville. I am in Murfreesboro. If you are past Opry Mills Mall, you are not going to be included in my standard pricing. That would be included in some additional mileage pricing. You would have to call me to figure out what I would charge you if I went beyond the Opry Mills address. So I'm going to go get, so once you come up with your point of reference, you go get that address, and it's 433 Opry Mills Drive for me in Nashville. You hop back over to Notary Gadget, and you create a pretend situation, Jane Doe, because remember, this is just for you to develop your pricing model. So 433 Opry Mills Drive, Nashville, Tennessee is going to be the signing address. All right. So the next thing I want to do is come over here. You have to fill in some of these things. So we'll be proactive and go ahead and do that tomorrow, whatever. I'm going to always put a signing duration of an hour because I anticipate that including some of my travel time. Again, that's not why we are here using this Notary Gadget. We are just here to get the mileage. So we're going to go over to save. And when you do that, this screen will pop up. Okay. It gives you some kind of like a little dashboard view of the signing. You can map it and do different stops along the way and what have you. But the only thing we really want to focus on for our purposes for this class and determining pricing is mileage expense. All right. So we're going to click on mileage expense. And if you'll notice, it'll pop up the actual location from where I am to the location where my signing is going to happen. And it will give you two options. It says, do you want to use the mileage just from your home to the signing? If that's the case, you would click use this. However, you have to get back home. And if it weren't for that signing, you would stay at home. So as a rule of thumb, when calculating your pricing, you will use the round trip method. So I'm going to select round trip. Well, look at here. It automatically tells me how much I need to charge mileage for a signing up to 433 Opry Mills Boulevard. Okay, so I'm gonna make a mental note of that, and I'm gonna hit save. But wait, Monica, you're not always gonna be going that far for your general notary work signage. You are correct. However, when you're developing a business and a pricing model, you want to take into consideration the most expensive that you are willing to do as a standard. Again, if somebody wanted me to come beyond Opry Mills Mall, then of course I would have to quote them on what that additional mileage would be. But for anybody and everybody within a, what was that, 86 mile radius. So I have just given myself pricing up to 86 miles away. Now that could be 86 miles to the east, 86 miles to the west, 86 miles to the north, or 86 miles to the south. It doesn't really matter to me. All I'm using Notary Gadget for is to determine what that mileage number looks like for the distance that I am willing to travel the furthest to as a standard. Any questions so far?
Nothing in the chat.
Okay, so we'll hit save and we'll move on. Now, you will have other expenses that you definitely need to identify when it comes to your signing. So let's go ahead and finish using Notary Gadget for those, since they have a nice little link here for me to be able to do that. If you want to watch the video, that's great. But otherwise, you just click on new expense. And for every single signing, what are you going to have to do? What is one thing that you're going to have to do? Anybody? We can come off mute.
Mileage and personal auto.
Okay, personal auto. Which we kind of captured that with the determination of the distance and how much we would charge. So that's correct. But there's something else that you have to do that I'm looking for in particular. You have to take documents to that signer. So in order to do that, you have to do what?
Document printing.
Correct.
Printing.
So for every signing, there's going to be several components to the fees that you charge. And we'll break that down on the spreadsheet. But one is what your Secretary of State says that you can charge for the actual notarial act. Then there are the ancillary charges that are associated with you executing the signing. One is driving to the place, which we just took care of that, and mileage. The next thing is printing the information that needs to be delivered to the place. So for document printing, you're going to have to come up with a formula. I recommend that you look at what a ream of paper costs per sheet, and you look at what a toner cartridge costs, and you divide it. And we'll put that on the spreadsheet to make it a little bit easier. So, but for now, what we're going to do is we're just going to give it a penny a sheet, and we're going to say that there's probably going to be about 150 sheets that are going to be associated with the signing, okay, on average. So it could be more, could be less, but let's use 150. Just like with the mileage, I'm not going to always travel 86 miles. With the printing, I'm not always going to print 150 pages. But as a business owner, I'm going to plan in my standard pricing for the worst case scenario. You guys understand that? Businesses price in fluff in their pricing because, yes, one customer may not utilize all of those expenses, but another customer may overutilize it. So what a business owner knows is that they have to come up with a standard pricing model that allows for them to be profitable in either scenario. Okay, so with the 150 pages as a standard and times 0.01 cents, so that's going to be $1.50 printing costs for every single file that I do. Now, if it's determined when we get to the spreadsheet that a ream of paper, excuse me, that it's more than 1 penny per sheet, then I'll make that adjustment, okay? And then you'll also have access to the spreadsheet that will be able to, you can plug in your own numbers. But for right now, we're gonna say $1.50, and that's gonna be it for the printing. Now, some of us also have to FedEx that information back. Give me a show of hands. Are you guys paying for the FedEx, or is that typically covered with the FedEx slip that the signing service provides? What's been your experience?
In my experience, it's always been provided, so I don't have a cost for that.
Okay, I figured as much. So there shouldn't be any additional shipping costs when it comes to that, but there may be parking, right? You may be dispatched to a signing at a hospital, or you may be dispatched to a fingerprint situation at an office, and there is a garage that you have to park in. Again, will every customer have that? No, but what are you going to do? You're going to build it into your standard pricing. So that way, if they don't have a parking expense, it's already there legitimately, and you can actually just call it profit at the end of the day. Okay, so here's what we'll do with that. We'll call this parking. And in most cases, it's probably going to be no more than maybe $5. It could be a lot more depending on how long you're there. So no more than $5 to $10 is what I would put into my standard pricing. Do I have to be exact? No, because every customer is not going to need parking, but it's not going to require that I pay for parking. But because I'm incorporating it into my standard pricing, everybody's going to contribute to the times where I do need parking. Does that make sense? So I'm going to put $10 here. Okay. So I'm going to always have an additional $11.50 in with my my pricing. Now, so what I have here is I have a total of $59.66 just to do a general notary work job. And you're like, well, wait a minute, Monica, that's not going to fly. Because if I have someone down the street from me, there's no way that I'm going to be able to charge them $60 to do a notarization 10 minutes away, 5 minutes away. And you're correct. Okay. So what you'll do in that case is you'll adjust, you'll make an adjustment if you want to, or you can give them a freemium. Okay. So what you can do is this pricing that we're coming up with can be your standard pricing. so that you don't have to charge for the notarization. Instead, we'll take this number that we know to be the case and we'll put it in those categories that I mentioned at the beginning of the call. Convenience fee, travel fee, administrative fee. Are you guys picking up what I'm putting down?
Can you
Yep,
go over
it's
that
pretty
one more
clear.
time?
I sure can. Thank you. So even though, let's get to the spreadsheet, we have $59.66 here in cost for our most expensive signing, general notary work signing, right? So we know that that's an 86-mile haul, and we know that we're charging for parking, and that most of the time we're not going to be driving 86 miles, and we're not going to be charging for parking. We're just utilizing that to come up with a number, and then we're going to take that number, the 5966, and we're going to put it in those categories. Remember the categories that I mentioned to you before? Convenience fee, administrative fee, and travel fee. Okay, so you're going to pick and choose which one of those categories that you're going to divide this $59.66 up in. And when you get a nearby client and they call and they say, hey, I need you to do an affidavit for me, and you find out that they're 2 minutes away, then you have the ability to say, my normal fee is $60. However, because you are nearby, I can do it for $50. What did I do? I took the $10 parking fee away from my standard pricing. You see? But if you don't have a standard pricing model, then you won't know what to say when you get those calls, or how to make adjustments, or to what degree to make the adjustment. I knew right away I'm going to take the $10 off, because I knew right away that I built $10 into my pricing for parking that I'm not going to need but 1 out of every 4 signings. It's there for that. Now, the customer doesn't know what I'm doing. All they know is, instead of getting charged $60, I'm getting charged $50. Okay. And then you can call the notarization free, because you can take that $50 and put it into convenience fee and travel fee. You can tell them, okay, I'll be happy to do that notarization for you at no cost. However, there will be a $50 fee that includes my travel and a convenience fee. Is that going to be okay? You do the notarization in your journal, you input $0 for the notarization. Did everybody get that?
Yes.
Okay,
Got it.
good. Okay, good. All right, now let's go over to the spreadsheet and let's make this make sense, not only for general notary work, but let's make it make sense for loan signings. All right, I'll share my screen.
Question while you're doing that, Monica. So
Sure.
can we also use this? Would we also consider general notary work the ink fingerprinting if we were providing that service?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You absolutely would consider ink fingerprinting as a part of your general notary work offerings, as you would if you're doing, that field inspection work and that DMARS,
Permit runner.
permit run, all of those things would kind of be plugged into here, right? So we determined that mileage, printing, and parking are going to be your 3 major expense drivers when it comes to facilitating general notary work. Okay.
One question. I'm sorry,
Sure.
one question came up.
Okay.
Erica wanted to know, what program are you using? Are you in a Google Docs document?
Oh, no, this is Google Sheets. And then the software that I was using on the other screen was Notary Gadget. Let me show you that one. So we have Notary Gadget is what we start with, right? To come over here and we pretend like we're doing a new signing, and we pick that address that's the furthest away that we would be willing to go. We calculate the mileage for that, and we do the printing and the parking, and then we come up with our standard pricing, okay, for that far away distance. So Notary Gadget is the software we use for that. I'm coming over to, I'm sorry, you guys didn't see that share. Let me share my desktop. Okay, so I was pointing over here at Notary Gadget. This is what we'll use to determine those initial fees, okay? And then you're gonna come over to, I'm just using a Google Sheets spreadsheet to figure out the rest. So let me get both where we can both see them on the same screen. That would be nice. Okay. So again, if you just joined, your Secretary of State is going to be your primary resource on what you can charge for notarial acts. So let me see here. We'll start with one at a time. But I want you to understand and not feel that you have to charge for notarial acts. As a matter of fact, it's a marketing tool to call it free, even though technically you're still getting paid as you would if you had charged it, right? So instead of being specific on $10 per stamp and $2 per witness and all of these things that all of us notaries do, it's just the nature of the character of the personality type of someone who likes to be a notary. We're very detail oriented. We want to break things down. We want to follow directions and line item things. Well, what that does is that ignores the fact that the customer has no clue about all of that. Okay, the customer wants to pay $25 and be done with it. They don't even want to pay $25, honestly. They want it to be free. Well, your competition, you have to be aware of, Notarize. I use Notarize because I don't feel like calling someone, meeting them to get something notarized. I can go to notarize.com and for $25 get my document notarized. However, there are going to be people who do not do that. And so what you have to do is your pricing has to be commensurate with what the market states. Well, if somebody is sitting at home and getting a notarized getting their document notarized for $25, they surely aren't going to have someone travel to them and expect to pay the same rate. So the market for you has determined that the ultimate convenience is being able to do a notarization from home, and the cost for that is $25. But we're not really talking about that right now. We're talking about you going out and being a mobile notary and meeting someone where they stand, okay? So for that, we have what we call convenience fee or an administrative fee. Whichever your Secretary of State allows or does not prohibit. And travel fee, we're going to put that in with the mileage. So when we did our notary gadget exercise, we saw that, you know how I do, I have to get aesthetic on mine because I am real funny when it comes to spreadsheets. I like to have them look pretty. All right, so we've got the general notary work. We've got notarial acts. So your Secretary of State may say you can charge $2 for an act. Let me go here and put money. All right. All right, so your Secretary of State may say that you can charge $2 for a notarial act. Our notary gadget told us that we could charge $48.16. And that's going to be because we use that furthest most geographical point to determine it, knowing full well that we are rarely going to travel that far. What we did when we decided to use that in our model is we buffered ourselves, we cushioned ourselves. We know we're not going to travel an 86-mile round trip for most of our general notary work signings. However, as a business owner, we have incorporated into our pricing for the one time that we do. And then we know that we make adjustments if we have to. So for printing, we determined that, you know, $1.50 a sheet would be good. So we'll go with that. But what you do is you determine, can someone please, if you don't mind, on your computer, look up what a ream of paper costs?
$5.99.
Okay, and that's 500 sheets.
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna add 10% tax to that. So $5.99 times 10%, depending on what your sales tax is, 10%. So So another 59 cents, so $5.99 plus 59. That's $6.58. We're gonna call a ream of paper $7. Okay, that ream of copy paper costs us $7, and there's 500 sheets in a ream of paper. So for that ream of paper, we are going to, there we go. All right, so for that ream of paper, and typically we're going to have 100, in our standard pricing, always use 150 sheets as our standard. Just like we did 86 miles, we know it's not going to always be 150, but we know it's not going to always be 250 either. So if we use 150, we're going to be pretty safe. So we're going to take the ream of copy paper per sheet, figure out a per sheet price. So that's going to be 500 sheets divided by $7. I'm sorry, I did that wrong. That's $7 divided by 500 sheets. Well, when you look at here, it's that penny a sheet that I mentioned before. And not only did I get a current price from the internet, but I also added tax. So now I'm being super safe and making sure I've captured all the expense associated with that printing of the paper. Now, could someone also go get me a toner price and a drum price? On the toner price, just your most expensive toner.
110.
Okay. And could you tell me how many sheets or how many pieces of paper it says it's good for?
$8,000 pages.
Thank you. And on the drum cartridge, could you tell me how much the most expensive one that you can find is?
Uh, 101.
124.
124. I'm sorry.
124. Okay, so $124, correct? All right. So we're not going to worry about tax and whatnot with that. So let's go up here, and how long and how many pages does it say that drum cartridge should last?
$30,000 pages.
Awesome. Awesome. So these are the main expenses for most signing agents, be it general notary work or be it loan signings. Your copy paper, your toner cartridge, your drum cartridge, your travel fee, the physical printing of those components, parking, and these other fees. And of course, we'll get to this one here in just a second. We always like to leave that one off, but we're just going to be basic here today. So for the toner cartridge, it says here 8,000 sheets. So we're going to come up with a price. Oh, I always do that wrong. Wow, what do you know? Interesting. Let's do this one. Negligible. Let's go out a couple of decimals. All right, so for every single piece of paper, you want to associate another how much for each page in addition to the actual paper itself. Here's the paper, but when you factor in your toner and your drum usage, how much would you associate in addition to that 1 penny for that cost? Anyone?
No, that's not correct.
How about 2 cents? So we've got 1 penny for the piece of paper itself, and then another penny for the toner portion, and then not even a whole penny for the drum portrait portion. So you can safely associate 3 cents for every page that you print with an expense. So how many pages are we going to be printing on average in our standard pricing?
150.
150. So what does that mean? Every packet is going to cost us in printing costs.
3 cents per packet, per page.
3 cents per page, or $4.50. So now we have, as business owners, captured all of the inputs that are required for us to conduct this type of business. We don't want to leave out drum. We don't want to leave out toner, even though we don't really buy them as frequently as we buy paper. We like to focus on paper and toner, but that drum cartridge is important too. A lot of times I see people not even thinking about the toner. They just think about the paper. Okay, but that toner is working every print cycle. All right, if you really wanted to be technical, we will go into electricity, but we're not going to do that today. Okay, so what we have here, go ahead.
Okay, so when you're talking about printing, are you considering that for a loan signing or just general notary work? Because
Oh, good point. You're right.
If it's a loan signing, you have to make an extra copy to bring to the client.
That's
We
true.
have to have two,
That number will
correct?
double as you go out for that signing. So I see you have GNW at the top, so we'll have to have 2 separate prices for loan
Correct.
signing versus general notary work.
Correct. So what
I'm
we'll do
looking
is,
out, Desiree.
right. So what we'll do is, this will be our loan signing. I'm sorry, this will be our general notary work. And then once we flesh this out, we will duplicate this sheet and call it loan signing calculator. It'll be all here in the same spreadsheet, but you'll be able to come over here. Now, you do bring up a good point. I'm not typically going to be printing 150 pages for a loan signing, right?
Correct.
Okay. Am I going to change that though? I'm going to keep it a part of my standard pricing.
Right.
You guys see how this is coming together? No, I'm not going to print 150 pages. But in the one case, and the one time I have to for a GNW job, I've already got it built in. So anytime I do not use 150 pages on a general notary work signing, I am profiting, no matter what, because it's built into my pricing. It's going, that little $4.50 is going into my profit. Now, will we need to make some adjustments because we need to be market savvy? We need to not be overpricing ourselves? Yes, of course. But again, this is going to go back to what type of general notary work jobs you accept and what type of general notary work jobs you don't accept. But what we want to do is we want to calculate it automatically so that you guys don't have to. So what I'm going to do is insert a column over here so that the calculations can happen. All right, so for this, let's see here. Uh-oh. If you don't know me by now, I love me some Excel. It's my
I
favorite.
gather that. I
Yeah.
need you on my team because I don't like Excel.
Yeah, these are my this is my favorite thing to do ever in life. Okay, so besides cash checks, I like cashing checks. Okay,
There
so
you go. That's the first one.
that's the first thing. So what we're gonna do, let me scoot this out of the way so I can get both screens back up. We're gonna put our pricing in. Okay, keep me logged in. So we're gonna go back here and we're gonna put our standard mileage fee of, how many miles did we do there? Let me go back and see if it'll let me.
It was 86.
86, thank you. Okay, so we've got 86 miles. I have another input, and that's gonna be, what do they charge? Is that 57 cents per mile? Does somebody know the math on that? I don't see it here. 48.16 divided by 86. 56 cents per mile is what that is, okay? Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, so now we've got, we want this to calculate automatically for us. So 86 miles, 56 per mile, and you'll come in and you'll input that number, that 86, right? So what it'll do, once you get your spreadsheet, is you'll come and put whatever number your mileage is, and you'll not have to worry about it because it'll automatically calculate it for you now that I just put the formula in there. Your notarial act, you're gonna have to input that number yourself, because that's gonna be something that is state specific. All right. All right. So with parking, we just came up with a number of $10. All right. All right. And then we'll put all right. So we've got notarial acts. And to be honest with you, I think we'll put that there. And we'll just assume this is $2 per signing. I mean, per stamp, or per, whatever your Secretary of State says you could do per notarial act, you'll put that number here. Okay. And it will automatically calculate for you now. All right, so now we have all these, I gotta get this auto calculating. So we have 150 pages. Again, we'll fix this for loan signings because Desiree is absolutely correct. You do have to print out multiple copies. So your standard pricing for a loan signing is gonna probably need to be based on 300 pages versus just 150 pages. But we're still gonna grab some profit from printing over here from a general notary work pricing. So the rate that we have determined to be the case is this number, which is the 1 cent per the piece of paper, plus the 1 cent for the toner cartridge, plus the less than a penny for the drum. Enter. There's our 3 cents. And we take and we create a formula that self-calculates, and it's $4.78. So when you get access to this spreadsheet, you will be able to come in and input the numbers here. Make a yellow so you'll know which ones you can, let me do it this way, so that you can see easily which ones that you're supposed to input into. So on the yellow field, you have to put something in. Actually, let's undo that. You have to put something in here. You have to input your Secretary of State's rate. You have to input what travel distance that you will be driving. And you will also input, if you want, the actual number of pages. You can go do your own research when it comes to these numbers here, and maybe you want to make some adjustments. But when you see a yellow cell, you know that those are the things that you can put in, you can make inputs in to adjust and play around with the numbers, okay? So yellow means you can play with.
Question, Monica?
Yes.
Someone asked in the chat, can we also factor in home office square footage write-off?
Ooh, very good. Yes, you absolutely can. However, that's getting into probably more than we want to do just for this, because unless you have just a standard number that you want to calculate one time and associate with everything that you do, what I would recommend, instead of drilling down that rabbit hole, is I would put everything in time. How often are you in that home office, and what are you worth per hour? and I would use that number to capture my electricity and square footage, because that's going to be more of a tax benefit at the end of the year than anything. You're going to get that benefit from the IRS. What we want is the signer to pay you for all the tangibles that you're doing for them. Technically, you're doing in the home office, you're using that home office for basically some of everyone. And unless you drill it down for that customer and put that customer's expense, pull that piece out, then it's kind of getting into a little gray space. So instead of doing it that way, what my recommendation would be is to say, hey, look, yeah, I'm using my home office. Yes, 100 square feet. And yes, it's going to eat up X number amount of my electricity bill and so far and so on. However, for each signing, I'm going to really try to stay focused on those inputs that are directly associated with that particular customer. Does that make sense?
I have a comment.
Yes.
Also consider, sometimes you may end up having to put sort of a surcharge in for things, say like paper goes through the roof, which I keep hearing it's going to, like plywood. Like I've stocked up on paper, but if it were to go through the roof, there may be times where we have to add that in or add a surcharge to, our rate. Or like if gas were to suddenly go through the roof some summer, there may be some times in life where we add a surcharge on. But I'm just trying to think ahead, like on paper, so I stocked up.
Exactly. That's a very good point, Diana. Thank you for bringing it up, because there are going to be those one-offs where things like we have now with prices fluctuating on certain pieces of our supplies are going to go up and down. But if you're using this pricing model that I'm teaching you how to use, you've already built into it those fluctuations. Why? Because you're not really going to be printing on a general notary work job 150 pages. You're not going to be traveling on every single notary work job 86 miles, right? So some of that is going to already be built in, and what isn't can be captured in your time. And we'll get to that here in just a second, but thank you very much for bringing that up. Now, again, if you go to your Secretary of State's website and you find that they do not prohibit convenience fee, administrative fee, and travel fee, then now you can use these fields, just as Diana mentioned, to kind of hedge your bets against price fluctuations for your other inputs. Now, do you want to get ridiculous? No. Why? Just like when I'm listing a property, the seller will say to me, Monica, I think we can get $600,000 for this property. And I will say to them, you know what, client, I'm going to look and I'm going to see how far we are. I'm okay with going above. I have a range of, between 10 and 20%, depending on where the property is located, that I will go high. But I will tell my client, there is a ceiling to everything. So just like I tell my clients, yeah, if you want to go to 600, we'll see. I may be able to get there with you. However, the market has discussed and told us that we can't do that. So once we get all these inputs on our sheet on what our general notary work pricing will be, we will go back to market and we will say, well, what is the market demanding? We know Notarize is charging $25 per signing on a general notary work job. So that's going to be our baseline. Once we get all of these numbers calculated, we'll be able to see how far are we outside of that baseline. And it's okay that we're above it, because again, Notarize, the customer is able to do it from their home. And in our pricing model, we're going to the customer. So we're not trying to beat Notarize on price, but what we are going to do is we're going to use companies like Notarize as a market benchmark to know where we need to make our adjustments, okay? So if you haven't checked for your convenience fee or administrative fee yet, definitely do that. I'm gonna leave those blank for right now because I do believe that we have enough to come up with our general notary work fee, okay? So let's go here. Okay. All right. So now we have got a situation where we can kind of auto-populate everything. You can use these fields, just like Diana talked about, to make sure you adjust any increases in prices over here. Or if you want to, you can just go over here and increase your prices when they increase. So if the price of toner cartridges goes up, you come over to your yellow cell and you go up with it. Guess what happens? All your fees go up, okay? Your drum, did it go up the right way? It went down. Hold on, let's see here. I had 110. And it was, oh, okay, no, it did right. It did right. Okay, good. Uh-oh, sorry. I thought it went the wrong direction, but it went the right direction. It went up, right? So let's just say drum cartridges go up to 200 bucks because some chip is missing. It goes up here. It changed my number from $4.68 or whatever it was to $5.35. And let's start running a total down here so we can actually see the final number change. Let's start those again, actually. Okay, so let's just say the toner cartridge went up, what was it, 120? All right, so $68.11. It didn't really have a big impact on price. Say the price of toner cartridges goes down to 110. See here, it drops your price. So this little calculator is going to be super handy for you to go and price. When you price, get real about your expenses, folks. Don't just buy the stuff and toss the receipts. Buy the stuff, figure out what it costs per sheet, and use this as a way to break it all the way down. If the ream of copy paper that you use is $10 a ream, then do that. If your sales tax is 12.5%, then you're paying $12.50 a ream, not 12, not 10, right? So you need to make sure you calculate in your cost to the T on this calculator, because what it's going to do is it's going to spit you out a number over here. So one thing we haven't talked about is time. If you haven't, just for your own purposes, calculated your hourly worth, not your worth as a human, your hourly worth. And people get these two things confused. Oh my gosh, you know, I don't believe you should charge people for everything. And your time is, you shouldn't have to. If you're in business, miss me with all that, okay? All that, okay? You're not a business person. Business people care about profit, okay? And the time that you spend working on behalf of someone else needs to be profit focused. You don't need to be giving your time away to anyone. Oh, I'm gonna pay it forward because it was paid forward to me. That's what volunteer work is for. If you're gonna volunteer, call it volunteerism. But even when you volunteer as a business person, you still need to know what your hourly worth is, because at the end of the tax year, you need to add it, let your CPA know, so you can do it as a deduction with Uncle Sam. Okay, so that's kind of where things are. So as far as time is concerned, the way that you calculate your time is you go to your Schedule C from your business. You don't calculate your time using the W-2 employment income that you were being paid, unless that's all you got. If you haven't started your business enough to have filed a set of taxes yet, then you're gonna have to use your last hourly rate. That's what somebody was willing and able to pay you. That's what the market proved that you were worth within the last recent past. But if you have a Schedule C, you will go to line 7 on that Schedule C, and you will you will look at it and you will say, hey, well, what did I earn? Well, if you earned $60,000 on your Schedule C last year, okay? And you worked, on your recollection, 40 hours per week, okay? Annually, that looks like 40 hours per week times 52 weeks. And we typically all have a 52 hours per week times 40. That's 2,080 hours. Now we know, give or take, you might have had a vacation or whatever, but you get my point. You put your hours worked. All right. And then from there, you can calculate your actual hourly rate. Everybody needs to be centered on the screen. Awesome. Okay. So your hourly rate is going to be over here, and it's going to make sure I make these yellow, because remember, you guys, yellow means you get to input. You have to go home and figure these numbers out. So as far as your time is concerned, you're going to always work. Let's see here. I think we said an hour. I think you're going to always give each general notary work signing, even if it takes you 15 minutes, you're going to associate an hour with it. Why? Because as a business owner, you're always basing your pricing on the worst case scenario. That way, when you get there and it takes longer than you expected, you're not sweating. You're not worried. You're not worried about if you're not worried about anything, because you have been proactive in developing a pricing model that already takes all of this into account. Okay, so now you can confidently say to someone that's 20 miles away that your rate is going to be $70. If they balk, you know what you can do if you want to make an adjustment. You can immediately go to parking and take it down to $60. Okay. And if you really want to, and then let's go ahead and add the time in real quick. So we're going to always use 1 hour as our standard. The rate we're going to use is going to be calculated as follows. The number of hours of the earnings that you reported on your Schedule C, or if you're doing W-2, whatever is on your 1040 that you reported your W-2 income, you do that until you have Schedule C income, okay? So we take the earnings that you reported to the Internal Revenue Service and you divide it by the number of hours that you worked. So what is my hourly rate?
$28.85.
If a new notary comes up to me and says, Monica, oh my gosh, can I just spend an hour with you on the phone and we can talk and you can help me with my business? I'll be like, absolutely. Let me send you a link. How much am I going to charge them?
I would round it up to $30.
I often say round it up to $30 an
I'm
hour.
gonna charge them $30.
Yeah.
Okay, because my time is valuable. I could be using that time to do some other income producing activity for my family, right? That's how you look at your time. Now, I can choose to go volunteer at Catholic Charities or whatever the case may be. That's fine. But I'm not going to charge Catholic Charities. But when I do my books at the end of the year, it's going to be a line item that I spent 4 hours at Catholic Charities at $28 per, because that's between me and the IRS, not between me and God, but me and IRS, right? So always make sure you have an understanding of what your time is worth. No matter how you plan on using it, you still need to know. All right, so $28.85. Oh, Lord. You mean to tell me that I've got to charge $98.42 for a general notary work signing? Remember what I said, go back and make adjustments for the market, correct? Right. So I'm using an hour here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be more realistic, because I can tell based on my knowledge of the market, based on my final pricing, that I'm not going to be able to charge $98.42 for a general notary work job when people are accustomed to paying $25 for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and be realistic about that actual time I'm going to spend. And that actual time is going to be a fraction of 60 minutes. So 15 minutes is what fraction of 60? You still got travel time, but we're not gonna do that too much, because we got that accommodated for here in the actual mileage. So 15 divided by 60 is 0.25. So let's put 0.25. And let's make our decimals bigger. Okay. So 0.25 is gonna be our standard, and our rate is here. So we're gonna have to, where did I put my formula? Okay, there we go. So we're gonna have to take our rate times, our standard time times our rate. And now, oh, would you look at there? That's gonna be an input, because you're gonna determine how much time you're gonna associate with a general notary work signing. 0.25 is 15 minutes. That's a quarter of an hour, okay? If you didn't make but $20,000 on your Schedule C because you just got your business started, and you only worked on your business, let's say 180 hours last year. Let's say you worked 200, let's say you worked 1,000 hours. There we go. Okay, be honest over here on these inputs. But my point is, even if this number makes your price exorbitant, you can remove it when you make your adjustment. Market price on a general notary work job is $25. Market price on a general notary work job is $25. Says who? Notarize.com, One Notary, all these places that people can hop online and get their notarizations done. The number they're gonna run into is between $25 and $30. Right now, if you want me to come to you, it looks like you're gonna have to pay a little bit more than that. And that makes sense, right? Because why? I'm coming to them. Now, if you want to, on your website or whatever, your one sheet, whatever you're starting to do your pricing, this is your back office pricing, people. Don't ever put this out in front of your consumer. This is an administrative, for employees only pricing tool. When you take this and you want to publicize it, then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take, actually, let me just, you're gonna take and you're gonna put numbers where you need them to be. You're gonna take, instead of the $74.47 being made up from $10 being in parking and $6.48, you may take some of this $48, instead of $48, you may call that a $40 travel fee and an $8 convenience fee. Maybe. You see what I'm saying? You'll redistribute your numbers in these little fee categories as long as your Secretary of State allows you to do so. Otherwise, and that's for the public facing price sheet, you redistribute, all you're doing is redistributing these numbers into categories that the consumer understands. And if you want to be really inventive with your marketing, always put notarial acts at 0. You can call, when they call you, your claim to fame, the thing on your Google My Business, thing on your website could be free notarizations, travel and convenience fees may be charged. We'll do your notarization for free, okay? But in order to get out of my house, put on my clothes, drive to you in whatever traffic and or weather conditions may be present, spend that time getting things done that you need done, spending maybe 5 minutes on the phone, making sure that you have the things that you need in order for me to be able to be effective when I get to you, then do the job, then drive back home. That's going to cost you those extra dollars that you won't be charged at Notarize or online.
Monica.
Yes.
Erica, I'm sorry, Erica put an interesting comment and question in the chat. She said, I saw someone charge technology fee for Ron. So we wouldn't charge for travel if we're doing Ron.
Right.
So we can make the adjustment there and put an administrative fee. We can probably charge for the technology fee there, right?
That is correct. You guys are absolutely on target. You're starting to think like CEOs. Absolutely. So if this was a Ron signing, you are correct, because guess what? Your platform is getting ready to do. They're going to nickel and dime you to death, most of them. They're going to charge you for this per signing and for that per signing. So you have to recapture those fees. When you do this, you're going to add, you can take instead of time or parking, or you can add a field here and call it technology fee. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and do that for you now. Okay, and this is going to be an input thing that you input. And then whatever your technology fee is, you're going to have to figure out how you're going to charge it. All right, you're going to have to, because they're so different. There's not, I wouldn't be able to do, whatever you put in this field here is what's going to come over here. So if you determine your technology fee is, I'm sorry, let me make that correct. Rate times standard fee. So if you feel like you go to your platform and you realize they're going to charge you $5 for every signing, after you've added up all those other fees, you know, KBBs or whatever, figure out what the total number is they're going to charge you for every single signing, and let that be the rate. It may end up being $3. Okay. So, and then the standard is you're going to do this one per client. So in that case, then your total technology fee for that particular client is going to be $3. And let me make sure that the formula reflects everything in this column. And so you would be looking at that. But again, you have this market price here to contend with. So you have to come back to this number, and remember, you're fluffing. You're not traveling 86 miles for that particular Ron signing. So you would zero that out. And now you have your fee.
You can take off the printing, the parking.
You
all of that
could.
goes away for Ron.
You could.
Right.
You could. But market prices told me that they're already accustomed to 25. So I'm only going to adjust as much as I need to stay in line with the market. Yes.
I see.
Yes, you're right. I can take away this $10 fee. I can take away this printing fee. But why would I want to price myself below the market? So
I think I would put more on the technology fee.
Well, and if that is justifiable from the numbers that you generate from your research, then absolutely so.
Right.
Right. So you're right. You can play around with these yellow, right?
Hey, Monica,
Yes.
that technology fee, I don't know if you got that from me, but that was used for Ron, because sometimes people don't know how to use Ron. And so you spend time going with them playing tech support, trying to use Ron.
Correct. And so you want to make sure, just like we did with the mileage, every signing is not going to require you to spend 15 minutes on helping people with technology fee, right? But you might want to use a number like 15 minutes to be your 86 miles. Meaning, yes, I'm not going to always travel 86 miles, but that's about the furthest that I would travel. No, I'm not going to always use 15 minutes in tech support, but I'm going to incorporate that into my standard pricing in the one-off chance that I end up having to spend a little extra time with customers on that piece. How do I come up with that quantifiable number for that 15 minutes? I take that 15 minutes and I figure it based on my hourly rate. So that's at $20. So maybe I just, there's so many different models that you could use when it comes to that. But because there's so many different ways that platforms charge, I'm gonna let you guys play around with the spreadsheet and make it like you need it to make it for yourself. But you are exactly correct. The way you want to factor your technology fee in is worst case scenario. A 15-minute general notary work job could turn easily into 30 or 45 minutes when someone doesn't understand how to use their computer. It's only going to happen 1 out of every 5 signings, but as a business owner, I'm going to work it into my pricing so that everybody contributes to that cost. Same thing like Walmart does, same thing like any builder, anybody that sells anything is passing all of their costs along with their profit on to the customer. And that brings us to the final piece, which is profit. We've built profit in using this model, However, I want to visually give you, I want to visually show to you what it looks like to force it into your pricing. You don't, with the way that we've got things going here, by me doing the 86 miles, by me doing the 150 pages, by me doing the time, okay, technology fee, all these different things, okay, I really kind of already put my profit in. So you don't have to do all of those things and this. Or you can do all of these things plus your profit and then make the necessary adjustment. For me, Monica Denise Wilder will never engage in any activity that takes me away from my family for less than a 35% profit margin. So that you know, if I'm doing anything with anybody, you know off the rip, I'm making 35% profit margin, period. That's my number. Your number may be 50%. Your number may be, hold on, teaching a class. Your number may be 25%, okay? Whatever your number is, that's your number, it's nobody's business. Most investors are going to at least need double digits. In the real estate market, in the stock market, in any type of an investment scenario, you will find that typically no one wants to earn less than at least a 10% return on their investment, just across the board. If you'd like to, start with that. Once you become more experienced and you have enough of a track record, then you can start to demand more of a profit margin, or you can demand more of a profit margin at the beginning. But what will you always have as a cap? What the market is willing and able to bear. You will never be able to outprice the market. You are not so genius that you're going to be able to outprice the market or fool the market in most cases. There are exceptions to certain things, but in most cases, when all parties are informed, which is what the market assumes, that the parties that are dealing in business, that both sides are informed as to the conditions of the market, then you're not going to be able to slip anybody and think that, oh, okay, it's okay to charge $100 for something that they could probably get for 25. It happens though. It definitely happens. So when you look at profit, okay, what you want to do is you want to look at, for me, my standard rate is 35%. So what does that mean? That means that this total right here is getting ready to get jacked up by 35%. You figure your expense base first, then you add your profit on top. So what does that look like? Well, that is $64.57 times 35%. That looks like $22 and some change. All right. Now, that equates to sorry. Circular dependency. Okay. So I need that to be that. That's fine. But I need this to be this. Okay. So we've got this equals this. Let's trick it. Still won't let me do it. So we've got the rate of, let me get this back out of here. All right, so we got a rate established of $22.60. And then we need to add that to, okay, I see what I'll do. All right. All right. Didn't like that circular reference. Okay. So these are the inputs. Did I input that? No, we'll leave that empty. All right, so I have a total now for one general notary work job of $87.17 when somebody can get it for 25. Now I have travel in there. So that's, I mean, I'm not mad at that, but it's still a too high above market. But that's okay. This is a back office calculator. I know that my first place that I'm going to go to make an adjustment downward is to take out my mileage is already taken out. So really I'd have been at 100. So the first place I'd go is to take out my mileage, right? And I'll probably come down here and play around with my profit a little bit. And I may just say, you know what? I'll just do 10% profit margin, okay? So what I'm looking at now is a $70 signing. I don't really have any printing that I'm gonna have to do. Okay, so now I'm a $60 signing, and they're not really 86 miles away. They're only down the road. Oh, would you look at there? How much do I need to charge for that signing?
$35.64.
Exactly. So now when you have that question, how much do I charge somebody for this signing? You can hop over to this spreadsheet, and we're gonna do the loan signing one, and then we'll wrap up. We're gonna hop over to this spreadsheet. Let me get this spreadsheet fixed first, or this sharing link. Okay. I'm going to drop this in the chat. So I want you guys to start to play around with it, just with the understanding that the yellow fields are the fields that you are going to make inputs in. All the other fields need to be left alone. Okay. And those for you that are going to be watching this on the replay, this link, I'm going to go ahead right now and put into the course, so that you will be able to access it without any problems. So while I do that, let's open up the mics and let's ask any questions, and then we'll final up with the loan signing calculator. Any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I thank you for the information because I really needed that spreadsheet. That makes you be able to break everything down.
Right. You are very welcome, Violet. This is definitely, and I hadn't forgotten about you on LinkedIn. I'm just never on LinkedIn. I saw you had sent me a chat last time. Yeah, I'll make sure I get on there and get that taken care of. But I'm going in, let's see here, new category, or maybe new post. And this is going to be spreadsheet, pricing calculator spreadsheet. So I'm dropping the same link into the spreadsheet, into the course as well. Pricing calculator. And remember, there's going to be two tabs. There's going to be one for general notary work, and there's going to be one for whatchamacallit, loan signings. It's making me do lots and lots of stuff. Paste. All right, so it's now in the actual course itself. For those of you who are going to be watching this replay back, but for those of you who are here, I just also dropped it in the chat, and I see that some of you have already added and come in. So let's get back over here and finish up with the loan signing. And it doesn't look like there's any questions. Let's see here.
No questions in the chat.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you have any feelings about Notary Assist versus Notary Gadget? Like Laura and Bill are really high on Assist, but maybe that's because of their friendship with Sue Hope, and maybe she gives it to them for free. I noticed a couple other people recently moving over from Gadget, like there's this guy in the Sign and Thrive tribe that just recently, notably, he's very helpful, blanking on his name, and he suddenly has switched over to Gadget. I'm sure it's more feature rich, but I'm just curious.
Well, that's a good question. I'm probably not going to be the best source on that since I'm not doing loan signings, but I can tell you from a business perspective, I think that we need to start thinking of QuickBooks as our minimum default. I think that the Notary Gadget and the Notary Assist are specific to loan signings. And what happens to a lot of us in the notary entrepreneurial space is that takes up 80% of our thought process, where it would leave us in a situation when those dry up, kind of looking around. Now we've got everything in our business designed specifically around loan signings. And I think that when the market shifts, the Notary Gadgets and the Notary Assists of the world will kind of not be getting utilized as much. Whereas if you've developed a business that has other streams of revenue from general notary work types of things, then a QuickBooks would be better suited for that type of enterprise. So to me, I feel like we as serious notarial entrepreneurs who are looking at creating a business need to start looking at QuickBooks as a minimum. So the invoicing features, especially if you start dealing with attorneys and things like that, they're going to understand QuickBooks much better than a Notary Gadget or Notary Assist. No shade to either of those. They were designed out of a need to serve as a niche audience. However, this niche audience of ours is becoming more informed as to alternative streams of income. Those two accounting platforms are specific to the loan signing process. Okay, so
Monica?
Can I say something?
yes.
So you are absolutely right. This is Erica. We've talked several times about the market shifting. Keynote, I work at a title company. Today they told us that we're going to start training for REOs. So you know what that means.
The market, yes, totally. I spoke with a lender 6 months ago, the gentleman that I wanted to actually bring on to do loan document training. He told me 6 months ago that the bulk of the refis are done.
They're done. Yep.
They're done. So it's just slowly trickling down, and all the notaries now that are still trying to get loan signings, those are going to be farther and fewer in between for a little while. So I wouldn't put all of my design, my business design tools around things that just focused on loan signings. And Notary Gadget and Notary Assist are those type of things.
Absolutely. They're training us. They're telling us to get prepared for REOs and then short sales, etc. And then I know this from being a realtor as well. It's shifting. So you need to do, like you said, the attorneys, the general notary work, the senior homes, the jails, etc.
All those other things, exactly. Totally correct. And as being in the business on the real estate side, we already kind of are used to it doing this, but I see a lot of new notaries and that's all they're focused on. What printer do I use? And they don't even realize yet that it's coming. And so that's kind of why it's a big passion of mine, because I'm always a big advocate for the underdog or whoever I see being the underdog. And those are the individuals who are becoming entrepreneurs for the first time and trying to do this notary thing. So it's kind of like, I really hope that they catch on to this and realize that now is the time, because it takes you 90 days to build up a pipeline and it's already June. So if you're still kind of got all eggs in one basket in June and you haven't yet pivoted and made an adjustment mentally at least, then now you're going to be July, August, September before you even can start developing revenue from these alternative streams. So now is the time to start developing these alternative streams. Okay, so let's look at loan signings real quick. The fees and things that are associated with loan signings are going to be similar to the general notary work, but to Desiree's point, they're going to include more printing. This is where you just come and make the adjustment, right? You may or may not have to deal with parking because you are going to someone's home. So you may want to go ahead and just take that out. Now, here's where you're getting into the seriousness of the pricing for loan signings. There is significant time spent getting your packets together before you're signing if you get them in time. So you want to come up with that standard, be it a quarter of an hour, is it taking you half an hour or what? We're just going to say it takes you half an hour. It may not take you in half an hour on each time, but we're just going to give half an hour as our standard time on that. And the half an hour standard is going to be based on your hourly rate. So we're going to take our standard, and then our hourly rate is going to be your earnings divided by your hours worked. So that formula has been put in here for you. Okay, now all you have to do is input how much time administratively you're gonna be spending. Your convenience fee, I don't know that I would focus on that. Your mileage is for sure gonna be something you wanna calculate at the 56 cents per mile. You might even be able to get away with a little more than 56 cents per mile, I'm not sure. Again, your Secretary of State's gonna be the main entity to determine that. So your printing is your big thing. We doubled that. If we want to, we can kind of fluff that up even more, okay? Your mileage, it should be the same because you picked your furthest most point. Your notarial acts, you're not really gonna charge per because that's gonna be included in your convenience fee or your administrative fee. So your time, let's go ahead and get that one because that's gonna be the biggest input driver for your loan signings. Now on a reverse mortgage, how long are you gonna spend? You're gonna spend 2 hours, right? An hour and a half.
Yeah, for a reverse mortgage, you're right.
What happened to my profit stuff? Oh, I deleted the wrong sheet. Let me go back. Let me add my profit back in here. I was wondering because I know I did profit and I know I did subtotal and then I did total and I input a couple of rows above here. All right, so we got profit and that's gonna be for me, I remember 35%. That's gonna be yellow. And that rate is going to be based on this times whatever that total is. So, 35% times my total gives me my profit. And then, so I'm gonna go down here because it didn't like the circular reference and I'm gonna put profit again. And I'm gonna add it here to that number. And I remember zeroing that out. And so now I have a total that looks like this. There we go. There we go. So now I need to delete this. Yes, I do. And I want to copy this. Awesome. Okay, so now we're back on track. We're going to rename this to loan signings. All right, so let's go back over here to general notary work and get this one figured. Okay, so that one's all done. Profit was there. So we're over here at loan signings now. We're gonna up this 150 pages to 300 pages. The mileage we're gonna adjust based on your distance back and forth round trip to the customer, your time and your administrative fee. So the administrative fee, what we're gonna do is we're gonna give it a figure based on the time it takes us to prepare the packet. And we just called it half an hour just to give us something to work with. We're gonna change that formula so that that half an hour is multiplied by our rate, which is gonna be our hourly rate. Okay, so our administrative fee is gonna be based on that. And again, if your hourly rate is 60 grand and you work 2,000 hours, all those numbers are gonna self-calculate for you over here. Did you see all these things change? So now you have no excuse not to get what you are worth. That's so important for me. Now you don't have any excuse. You don't know when you hear these people talking about what should I charge? What should I charge? What should I charge? Please tell them to take this class, okay? So that they can actually click on a link and just calculate, watch this video and calculate what it is they need to do. So on a loan signing, we've upped the printing. I think I actually had 350, because why? Because I'm a business owner and I'm gonna plan on worst case scenario. I've already got my toner, my printer, my ink cartridge, and my time calculators inputs in here. I'm not gonna have to deal with parking because I'm going to someone's home. So it'll take me a half an hour to put up the packet. And at $30 an hour, that's gonna look like, yeah, that's gonna look like at half an hour at whatever my rate is. Is that right? My rate is $30. So that is not gonna equal that. That's gonna equal that times that. There we go. Okay, had to fix that. Make sure this one is correct. Yes, it is. Perfect. Now, how much do I charge for that signing that's 86 miles away?
122, but I think that's a little low.
Again, you want to come over here and you want to play with it, okay? To be able to determine. Now, if you're getting a direct client and you want a scientific approach to calculating your pricing, then these numbers not only cover your costs, but give you profit. Let's not forget that,
Okay.
okay? It's covering everything plus some, because you may not be traveling 86 miles. You're not printing 350 pages. You're not really spending more than 30 minutes getting it together. Here, where it's going to be, the variable cost is going to come in is your rate, your hourly rate, whatever that is. And that's going to self-calculate here. So let's just say your hourly rate, say you made 60,000 last year, but you only worked 500 hours. Now, guess how much that signing cost you? That's if that's true. If you told the IRS you made 60 grand and you know that you only spent, maybe 10 hours a week working, then your legitimate hourly rate, what you are worth, what the market said that you were worth, is $120 an hour, which means that 30 minutes it took you to put that those files together and tab them, that was a $60 expense. And the time it's going to take you to actually do the signing, let's make sure we get that correct, because it's going to take you at least 45 minutes, which is 0.75 hours. Okay, so now I'm above what a signing would be normally, right? Because for some reason, I'm good. I'm making 120 an hour. But again, your inputs are going to be your inputs. Okay.
And you
Now,
also have to base it on whether or not you're doing a mobile signing where you're going to the customer versus whether or not you're doing direct signing where you're going to the title or escrow company.
True, somewhat. Either way, you're going to have mileage. And
Right.
that's the number that you're going to put here. So it's either going to be 30 miles, or it's going to be 10 miles, or it's going to be 50 miles. Either way, you're leaving your house. So
And not so much on the printing when you're going direct, because they print out the documents for you.
And if that's the case, then you come over here and you make an adjustment.
Okay. Okay.
Right? Good points. So your loan signings and then your technology fee. We almost forgot about that. For those of you who are doing Ron, okay? Your technology fee, I'm sorry. Your technology fee is going to, I think we didn't do it over here either. I must have deleted it on both. Your technology fee. I don't like all that. Getting close up. Okay, good. Your technology fee is going to be, I think we talked about that, just having depending on what your platform that you're going to be using for Ron, you guys are going to have to come up with kind of that formula for that, right? I'm going to multiply these two cells to give you a number, but you're going to have to input what that is. So you're going to have to input how much you're going to put a number 1 in for the rate, because it's going to be per signing, so per 1 signing. So we'll just go ahead and default that as a 1. Might as well take that out so it doesn't need to be changed. So it's going to be per signing. That's what the 1 represents. And then you're going to go figure out how much your signing platform is charging you for KBBs and seals and all of those different things. And you may have a technology fee entry for several. You may have to take this spreadsheet and add different lines, because maybe you're working with multiple platforms that charge you in different ways. So you can feel free to add different rows for each one, or create one for each, create a calculator for each of your signing platforms. At any rate, what I want to make sure you understand is that you're going to have to come in here and input per signing what that number is. And the calculator is going to calculate that for you, because it's going to take whatever you input here and it's going to multiply it by the rate, which is 1, because it's per signing, per 1 signing, right? So maybe after you get added up the KBBs and this and this and this, maybe it's $10 for that particular platform. I don't know. You're going to go do that homework. You're not going to have mileage on Let's go over to general notary work. You're not gonna have mileage on your RON. Okay, so so maybe their platform is charging you by the time you're done $10 for all the fees.
Monica,
Yes, ma'am.
where you have GNW, you're on the loan signing one. Can you change that to loan? There you go. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. All right, so now that you have everything added up, give me a break. All right, let's make sure that's a subtraction or that's a that. Awesome. Okay, so for a loan signing, we have no, that's involving a RON. We're not necessarily charging per notarial act. On a RON, we don't have any mileage. Printing, let's just assume that we are gonna be printing this packet, okay? So we're gonna use our, whatever number we feel like we're gonna be printing there. We're not necessarily gonna have any parking, so we're not gonna use anything there. We're gonna leave convenience fee for now. We're gonna look at the time it takes us to be able to calculate, or to be able to get that packet ready, and it's gonna be 15 bucks. The physical time it's gonna take us to do the signing is 45 minutes, but honestly, if it were me, I would probably do everything at no less than an hour. Unless it's a reverse, then I would say 2. You see what happened? Okay, so if it were me on a default, I'm always probably gonna use 2 hours. I'm gonna use my profit of 35%, and I'm pretty much good. My fee for that signing is gonna be $135. Does that make sense?
Yep. I like that you can go in and make the changes as you need to, whether it's a remote signing or a mobile signing.
Yeah. And the key that really impacts the fees for your signings are your earnings. So your homework is to go and to figure out what you are worth per hour, be it from what your previous job was willing and able to pay for your talent, or what your Schedule C had determined from what you reported to the Internal Revenue Service. Because as a business owner, you need to just, all you need to be able to do is justify the cost. Last 2 weeks ago at my farm, I charged $165 for a 25 pound for 45 25-pound produce boxes. $165 is exorbitant for a 25-pound box of produce. However, I was able to justify the cost. I had to hire a driver. He had to fuel his truck. He was coming 549 miles away. You want this before June the 1st. No local farmers have anything coming out of the ground because we are in zone 7. Once I outlined all of the justifications for the reason that the boxes cost $165 per, Catholic Charity said, okay, can't argue with that. When you get that direct client and they want to know, why are you charging $150 per signing, $140 per signing? You can create one of these forward-facing direct client calculators and feel free to share it with them. Okay? They're going to know you're about business when they see it. Now, is this anybody's business? No. If you have to go and show and do all that, I don't know if that's your client. But my point is, if you got pressed and needed to support what you're doing and why, now you have a scientific means by which in order to be able to do so. Any questions?
That's real good, Monica. No questions, but I see a couple of comments going on in the chat. And since you are both in the real estate world as well as the notary world, the comments are about how can we prepare or take advantage of the foreclosure market to come. So that, you know, because I don't know what documents would need to be notarized when we have, you know, people that are training. I think Erica mentioned she's getting trained for REOs and stuff. What type of documents from the mortgage side of things will be coming to that we can benefit from, or maybe do some notarizations on?
Sure. You're gonna get a lot of deeds. You're gonna get definitely a lot of deeds, the transfers of ownership from the individual back to the bank. But instead of really worrying about the actual documents, I want to encourage everyone to start developing attorney relationships. Don't worry about the minutia. You are the CEO. You go and you target the audience that's going to need your help. And every one of these REOs, these real estate owned, or every one of these transactions is going to be facilitated by an attorney. So it brings us back to where I am with our target audience, folks. Get yourself in position to where you are serving a specific group of attorneys in your market. And then from there, be very good at an acknowledgement and a jurat. That's
Thank
it.
you. That was good. That was good.
That was it. So on
That
a scale
sums it
of,
up right there. That
that's
sums it
it.
up right there.
Attorneys are it, you guys. I've been doing this
Yep.
for 6 months, listening to all these trainers, listening to all these different things we can do, permit writing, all that's all well and good. Your customer as a notary who's trying to grow a sustainable notarial business is the attorney, period. There's no other customer.
Right,
There's
I
no
just
other
completed 2 signings so I could pay for the ABA fee.
Exactly. You need to join the American Bar Association. It's $150. You can join as an affiliate. That's an annual fee. You have to pay it once a year. Gives you
Right.
access to all of the attorneys in the ABA in your area and across the country.
Exactly. That's what I like right there.
It's your lead database.
And then
Okay,
you already gave us the email, so I already got the emails too. See that? All in one package.
there we go. So you don't really have to pull the trigger on that 150 if you don't want to, but Violet, it sounds like you're ready to lead with revenue. You just made a little money, put it back in the business,
Exactly.
that database, so you can search it how you want to search it. All right, you guys, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being this class was awesome, 1 being this class needs some help, please rate and let me know if you have any feedback on things that we need to do to improve the class. I would love to be able to hear that. Yes! I got 100, I got 1,000, I got 200. On that note, I'm gonna go take my third born son to work because he's got to go to Marco's Pizza and get on the clock. So thank you guys for joining How to Determine Your Pricing. Once I get back, the class should be recorded and converted. I'll make sure I get that up into Kajabi as soon as I possibly can this evening.
We
guys
thank
have a
you
great
so
evening.
much for everything. Be
Thank
safe.
you, Monica.
Absolutely.
Everybody
You're
have a
welcome.
good
Y'all
one.
have fun playing with the spreadsheet.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, I'm looking forward
Thanks,
to it.
Monica.
You're welcome, Curtis. You guys have a great evening.
All right, bye-bye.
Be
Bye-bye.
safe.